Title: The Forgotten Hotel. Chapter 1: The Road Less Traveled. Lena always had a fascination with abandoned places. As a freelance photographer, she thrived on capturing the forgotten, the decayed remnants of history left to rot. So when she heard whispers about the Black Hollow Hotel, a long-abandoned building tucked deep within a desolate forest, she knew she had to go. The hotel wasn't on any modern maps. It was rumored to have closed abruptly in the 1950s after a series of unexplained disappearances. Some claimed the guests had simply vanished overnight, leaving their belongings untouched. Others said something darker lurked within its walls. But Lena didn't believe in ghost stories. She believed in evidence and the promise of hauntingly beautiful photos. Armed with her camera, a flashlight, and an overconfident sense of curiosity, she set out alone. Chapter 2: Arrival. The drive was longer than expected. Dense trees swallowed the narrow dirt road, and her GPS blinked out miles ago. Just as the sun dipped below the horizon, she saw Etan Old Iron Gate, half collapsed, marking the entrance to the Black Hollow Hotel. The building loomed in the distance, its silhouette jagged against the darkening sky. Broken windows stared out like empty eyes, and the faded sign above the entrance swung gently in the breeze. Lena parked her car, grabbed her gear, and stepped into the decaying lobby. The air was thick with dust and mildew. Faded wallpaper peeled like dead skin, and remnants of furniture sat eerily intact as if someone had left in a hurry, but never came back. As she snapped her first photo, she heard a faint whisper, like her name carried on the wind. Dismissing it as her imagination, she pressed deeper into the hotel, but the whisper grew faintly louder with each step. Chapter 3: The Echoes of the Past. She explored floor after floor, her flashlight's beam slicing through the darkness. Each room told a story. Suitcases left unpacked, half-finished drinks still sitting on dusty nightstands. But something felt off. In the ballroom, broken chandeliers dangled precariously, and dusty mirrors lined the walls. Lena paused to snap a photo. When she checked the preview, her stomach dropped. A figure stood behind her in the reflection. She spun around nothing. Heart racing, she convinced herself it was a trick of the light. But as she walked away, she noticed her reflection lingered a second longer than it should have, smiling faintly even after she turned her back. On the third floor, she found a door slightly ajar with room 237 etched faintly on the wood. Compelled by a force she couldn't explain, she pushed it open. Chapter 4: Room 237. The room was surprisingly untouched. A suitcase lay open on the bed, clothes neatly folded. On the desk sat a journal, its pages yellowed with age. Lena flipped through it. The entries grew increasingly frantic. I hear them whispering at night. The mirrors? They aren't right. If you're reading this, don't look at the mirrors. A chill ran down her spine. She glanced at the large mirror on the wall. Her reflection stared back, but didn't mimic her movements. It smiled. Lena stumbled backward, dropping her camera. The reflection remained frozen, its grin widening unnaturally before slowly raising a hand to wave. She fled the room, slamming the door behind her, but the whispers followed. Chapter 5: The Descent. Lena tried to leave, but the hotel wouldn't let her. Hallways twisted impossibly. Doors led to the wrong rooms, and windows showed views of places that shouldn't exist. The front door was gone or replaced by another endless corridor. She could feel it watching her. Something was here, lurking just out of sight. The whispers grew louder, now forming words. Stay with us. You don't belong out there. Look in the mirrors. Driven by desperation, Lena smashed every mirror she found. But shards on the floor still reflected her distorted image, grinning, watching, waiting. Her appearance began to change. Dark circles hollowed her eyes. Her skin turned pale and drawn. Sometimes, she'd wake up with bruises on her arms, fingers clutching at nothing. Her reflection started appearing in places where no mirrors existed, on polished floors, on windows, even in puddles of water. She found herself back at room 237. The door creaked open on its own. Chapter 6: The Truth Behind the Glass. Inside, the room had changed. The walls pulsed like breathing flesh, and the mirror was whole again, pristine and inviting. Drawn to it, Lena saw not her reflection, but a window showing the ballroom below. Dozens of shadowy figures danced in eerie silence, their faces featureless except for wide, empty grins. And in the center stood herself. Frozen with terror, she watched as her reflection turned to face her, its mouth opening impossibly wide. A distorted hand reached out from the glass, fingers stretching beyond the surface, clawing for her. She tried to run, but the room collapsed around her, darkness swallowing her whole. Chapter 7. The Forgotten. When Lena woke, she was sitting in the lobby. Morning light filtered through broken windows. Her camera was beside her, but her photos were gone or replaced with images she hadn't taken. Grainy shots of her sleeping, walking, and staring blankly into mirrors. She fled the hotel without looking back. But she didn't leave alone. Her reflection was lagging slightly, sometimes moving when she didn't. At night, she heard whispers through the glass. "Welcome back." Sometimes when she walked past mirrors, her reflection would blink when she didn't. And when she finally shattered the mirror in her apartment, she found fingerprints pressed from the other side. Epilogue. Months later, a new photographer discovered the Black Hollow Hotel. They found an old camera in room 237 covered in dust. Curiosity outweighed caution. Later that night, they developed the film. The last photo was of Lena, standing right behind them. And the cycle began again. The end.